Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Jacqueline Feldman. I'm the Rebbitzin of Bushy United Synagogue, and I have a real passion for helping to support and include people of all ages. I particularly wanted to focus on helping to support and include children within our communities. And I actually have a background as a Senko, as well as a lot of experience working with children also in informal settings like summer camps, etc. So within a shul, there's so many different opportunities to help our children who have different neurodiversity needs to feel included within our communities. The Bar and Bat Mitzvah celebrations are always going to be particular points of contact where the best practice that we've seen is really to look at the individual child and find a program that works best for them. In addition to that, we were one of the pilot shuls that for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we had a calm children's service, which was a children's service that took place away from the regular children's services, which are always very busy and happening and exciting, and sometimes a bit too overstimulating and anxiety provoking for some of our neurodivergent children. So we had a calm service, and we had a few children together with a member of our community who is a Senko, who's a professional who works with children with all different needs. And the service was in a very informal, comfortable setting for them to be able to learn, to be able to connect, to be able to share. And I think what was really special about it as well, it meant that their families could also access shul, and which would otherwise possibly have been a struggle for them. So this was just one example of ways that we try to think of how to help different children to be able to access our shuls. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I'm going to now bring in Rabbi Eisenberg.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I'm actually not from London. We are in Manchester, in Prestwich, and our shul has had a different experience. What has happened is we have a member in our community who's one of our everyday members. Lots of us who have shuls or know about shuls, we have the people that come 3 times a year or twice a year. We have people that might come once a month. You have people that come once a week, but you have those people that come literally 3 times a day, every single day. And one of those members waited a very long time, unfortunately, for children, had to wait 10 years for children. And finally, with treatments, they were able to have a child, and that child is very neurodivergent. He's on the autistic spectrum quite severely, and he's been part of our shul ever since he's been a young child. And it's become a challenge for us as a shul to be able to deal with this young man, because he's nearly 30 now, and he comes every single week. He has his practices that he likes to do. He has the things that need to be just the way that he needs them to be. And when things go wrong or things don't work out the way he wants them to work out, then it sets him off, it triggers him. And we've had to try to face ways how to make sure that we can make the shul inclusive for someone like him. And now that he started coming, what I'm happening is we have other members that started coming with special needs. We work together with the Friendship Circle. The leader of the Friendship Circle, Mrs. Esty Brook, is a member of our shul, and she started bringing in more and more people. And we have a range of people with a range of different special needs that end up coming to our shul on a week-to-week basis, some more often, some only once a month. But as a shul, we've had to be able to adapt to that, had to learn how to deal with that. And this is why I'm on tonight's panel to discuss this with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robert Eisenberg. I'm going to bring in now Rebbitzin Eva Chapper from Boreham Wood.
Hi, good evening. I'm Rebbitzin Eva Chapper from Boreham and Elstree, as you just said. We have had a lot going on regarding accessibility. I just want to say as a side point, we have vibes groups. They are groups that have been set up by people, their peers, and there's a whole range of different things. There's an arty one, there's a book club, there's about food, there's knitting, there's all different things. And I think that part of the idea was that when you take things out of the shul setting, you give people a different way to interact and to meet. And it's smaller groups, which often people, they don't feel intimidated, they don't feel as anxious. So I think those have been really positive for people to access whatever their needs are. Also, we were also a trial community over Rosh Hashanah, and we had fidget toys and wobble cushions and ear defenders, and we've had very positive feedback about that. We have a couple of WhatsApp groups based around accessibility, community conversations about it. And we have members of our community who work at Guest Share, so they help with conversations about how we can support children. I've also got 25 years experience teaching bat mitzvah girls and bat mitzvah groups, so it definitely comes up there as well. And as Rebus and Jacqueline said, tailor-made. Each girl's an individual, and we work around what they don't have to necessarily get up and give a speech. I had a couple of girls recently who one produced a graphic novel brochure of the Devar Torah instead of the parsha instead of giving a Devar Torah. And there's lots of other ideas of making things inclusive and making a space for them where they feel comfortable. They're not in front of the whole shul necessarily, etc., etc. So we've seen changes recently. We've tried to make sure at Kiddush there's seating that's specifically for people who can't stand for long or need their own space or want to meet other people with similar interests, so they don't feel so overwhelmed by the hubbub of a Kiddush with lots of people there. We've been trying priority seating in shul, again, for people who might need to come in and out, and they're not distracting everybody so much. They don't feel they're distracting everybody so much. And there's lots going on. There's lots to do. There's signposting. There's we produce videos of what's going on and voice notes on WhatsApp. So trying to produce this in other ways to make them accessible. And yeah, I think that's a very quick summary of we're really trying to move forwards and make sure that everyone can access as much as possible from the community.
I'm just going to ask each one of you. I'm going to start with Jacqueline. If you want, just kind of give me an idea, what were the challenges? Because in terms of what you've set up, what would you say the challenges were and how you've overcome them?
I think one of the hardest or the biggest challenges is finding the way for the information to get to the right people. And I think that for most parents, it's difficult to kind of encourage them to come to a space they're not necessarily sure if they'll be comfortable at. But definitely for parents of children with neurodiversity, I think that to be able to target the message and make it clear enough to them that this would be something that would really be helpful and accessible for their child, I think is definitely a challenge. But the idea really is through time, the concept just becomes something that's just known about and becomes more normal as part of what the shul offers. So specifically in terms of the Calm service, I think we ran it on Rosh Hashanah, and because it was so successful, the parents asked for it again on Yom Kippur. And then there were some more parents that realized that actually this could really work for my child. So I think it's about starting with a small group and then reinforcing that message that this is something they really can access.
Okay, great, thank you. And we're going to bring in Rabbi Eisenberg, because you've been running your friendship circle for quite a long time. What were the challenges over the years? You've had a number of challenges to kind of get this right, and you have got to a really good place with this.
Okay, so with the friendship circle, we've not had so many challenges, but with the young man that we mentioned previously, we have had challenges, specifically because of his level of autism. It's been very difficult for him to come into shul, and when things haven't been the way he wants, it sometimes sets him off and sometimes gets him very, very upset. What we've had to do is we've had to insist that he comes with someone that's a chaperone, so he has an individual that is a chaperone that's there to care for him. And 98 or 99% of the time, he's like grown out of most of these things already. There are no issues, but there have been issues where he has either confronted people and said something that's inappropriate. He has, kicked things because of his anger, and it's something that he very much struggles with and has to come to terms with, because he's used to the service being a certain way. When it's not a certain way, or when certain words are being said that trigger him, he finds it very, very difficult. And so it's trying to overcome the challenge of somebody who's trying to manage their emotions and has a hard time managing those emotions because of the neurodiverse nature of the individual, and trying to, for us as a shul, to, on the one hand, allow this individual to come and to ensure that everybody else is safe, and on the other hand, also to ensure that he's in a safe environment and he can come as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And we have Eva. Do you have any particular challenges with You there? Yeah. And do you have any particular challenges in terms of, because you've set up quite a number of things and you've got like a bigger project. I know your project is reimagining all of your shul, so it's quite immense. But would you say there are any particular challenges that you've managed to overcome in that time? And would you say not necessarily?
So I'm probably not aware of all the challenges because I do have to give the credit to Simon Berman, who unfortunately couldn't come on this evening for that. I will just give a small example of we had a bar mitzvah recently of twins, and they both have of extra needs, and there was some concern because their bar mitzvah teacher couldn't be there, and thankfully on the day they were very supported. The boys did amazingly well. One gave it to Bar Torah, which we printed out so everybody could follow it, and the other boy did an incredible job with his laning, supported by his father and the rabbi and the gabayim. So sometimes you don't know how things are going to work out, but actually on the day it all came together, which was really beautiful. But so I may not have all the expert knowledge on problems that have come up, I'm afraid.
Let's go back, start with Eva. Coming back to, we've talked about the challenges. What about some of the benefits or any tips that you can offer to other schools in terms of the practice that you've implemented?
I think the fact we are obviously quite a large community, and I think that part of that is that we've had so many people come forward. We've got educators, as I said, involved in Gesher School, and other people involved in neurodiversity training, etc. We've got families who have come forward to offer their experience. We've got some from the rabbinic team, and I think that is really positive, that people just coming along and they're volunteering, putting forward their time and their effort and their experience, and supportive senior leadership team and honorary officers, and that's really how things are going to move forward, and they are moving forward. And there's as I said, there's discussion on the WhatsApp groups, there's awareness if things go right or wrong, and I think that it's the people who make it, the people who are going to make it move forward, and who are going to make the differences. And as I said, we are very blessed that we have a significant amount of people who are involved and are steering this, and that's what really makes a big difference.
Brilliant, thank you. So Jacqueline, I'm going to come over to you. What would you say in terms of the benefits and the impact that you've seen so far, and maybe something you might share with the schools in terms of how they might implement this?
So if I could talk specifically about some of the B'nai Mitzvah and the impact that that's had on the shul, I think that depending on the child, as I said, it really needs to be tailor-made, but I think that the community has really benefited from seeing how we care as a community, from seeing how we value each child and we try to find their strength. And I think actually that's a message for every member of the community, not just the children, obviously, is that as a Jewish community, that's one of our really significant values, is to try to find that value in people and see the strengths in them. So we had one bar mitzvah boy who came in and opened the ark. Sorry, I should say this was done on a weekday because that was what he was more comfortable. He came in, went up to the ark, opened the curtain, came to the Torah. I think he may have read something. This was done on a Rosh Chodesh, so when the Torah was out, and then he left. And that was about the amount of time that he was comfortable being in shul for. And everyone who was there benefited so much from seeing how a boy could celebrate his bar mitzvah in a way that was really fitting for him. And in a similar way, when there was a child who was struggling with mental health, again, to find a way that they wanted to celebrate and that felt comfortable for them and for their family. And the community was able to realize that this, without sharing anything that obviously the child wouldn't want people to know about, or the family wouldn't want people to know about. So maintaining the confidentiality of the family, etc., but just for everyone to be able to see that actually every person does things differently, and that's okay. It's such a powerful lesson for the whole community.
Yeah, so effectively what you're saying is that by focusing in on what we say a relatively small group, although I'm not so sure it's that small anymore, you are fostering a greater sense of community for the whole of your community, which is great, which is what we're trying to do as right across the US. So that's really great. Thank you. Rabbi Eisenberg, I'm going to bring you in. in terms of where you would see what benefits you've seen over the number of years, given what you've been done. I actually have been to see your shul. I was really touched by. I went over Chag, went over Sukkot, so I've actually seen it for myself. But I don't think I saw the full-on what you might see on a typical Shabbat when you made a particular focus on them, for example, around the Kiddush. So what would you say the benefits were?
So I would say, first of all, the benefits, we're maybe slightly different to some of the other shuls that are presenting over here. Bushi is the big shul in town, as well as, Bournemouth also being the big shul in town. We have a lot of shuls around us, and yet we have become known as a very caring shul amongst the other shuls because of the care and concern that we show to people that are coming to our shul, and that everyone is welcome. And when everyone feels welcome, I think it has a knock-on effect in two ways. Number one, if you're looking to grow membership, when people realize that you're an inclusive place and that everyone is welcome in your shul, people want to be part of that shul. People want to be part of a place where they feel welcome. I like to say, and I've said it oftentimes to my community, that walking into a shul, if you can create a situation where people feel like they're walking into one big hug, if they can, because that would be a lovely situation. You walk into shul and you feel like I'm enveloped by the love of the community and I'm welcome over here and people want me to be here, and that's a wonderful thing. And when we are more inclusive, when we allow even sort of the people that are neurodiverse or that have mental health challenges to come to our shul, to be themselves in our shul and to feel welcome in our shul, then everybody else realizes, hey, if everybody else is welcome in a shul, the people that are neurotypical might realize also, yes, we're also much more welcome. It's not just a place where people come to daven, but it's a place for us to really welcome each other and to be together as a family. So I think that was one thing is the growth in, people want to come and people want to join your shul. And it makes the people in the shul actually much more welcoming. When you lead from the front and you become a welcoming individual, people realize, hey, wait a second, this is a shul where the rabbi makes space for everybody else. The chazan, the executive, makes space for other people. And they learn that when we lead from the front, this is the kind of community we need to be. We need to be a community where from the front we show everybody is welcome in the shul. Obviously within limits, but everybody, as long as we can agree on a certain set of rules, everybody's welcome over here, and we will allow people who have different needs to be able to act upon those needs as long as it's safe for everybody else in their environment.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's really great. Yeah. Again, it comes back to the same point that when we're honing in on a particular cohort, it actually is inclusion. It's not inclusion for one group, it's inclusion for everybody. So I'm going to turn to any of you at this point and then just step in. If there are any tips, maybe one or two tips you could share for those who are considering implementing one of your practices, or maybe I will start with you, Jacqueline, because yours is quite specific in terms of your children's service, or anything that you kind of implement in your shul. It might not want to be that one. I mean, that's quite a specific one.
I mean, I think it's the same for all of them. My tip would be start by speaking to the people concerned, start by speaking to your stakeholders, find out what they want, because I think all too often we think we know what would be best for someone, and especially with neurodiversity, it's such a kind of catch-all term that's so broad. I'd say that the beginning conversation is just talk to some of the families, see what would help them to feel more included in the community. And some of that conversation might point you in the direction of what Shabbat morning looks like or what Rosh Hashanah looks like, but actually some of it might point to that's not the right timing for them, and they would love something during the week, or they would love something in a slightly different type of setup. So I'd say start by talking to the families who are comfortable discussing with you.
Yes, so that brings me to Eva, because I know that you mentioned as well, you've brought an accessibility group in. So you want to mention that do you want to just talk very briefly about that?
It's completely what I was thinking about. So to go back a little bit, we did all these major surveys, went out. I know Hannah's trying to type a tip, by the way, so someone could keep a track of that. Hannah Wilk, because she's on as a participant. This survey went out, and when you put out a survey, you're taking a chance, because you could hear good things and positive things, and you can also hear negative things, obviously. But I think that the positivity that's come forward and the people who've come forward because they've been given that opportunity is incredible. And to sit in a meeting with someone who, I hadn't necessarily met before, or people I had met before, and you've got adults and children talking about their hidden disabilities or their obvious disabilities or their neurodiversity, and it's not just children, there's a lot of adults as well who are getting diagnosed, etc. And I think that to give them their voice that they haven't felt they've had before, and to hear them and listen to them and do something with that. I think that is really the most incredible, empowering thing for them, and the way to move forward, because they know what they need, and they know what they want, and we will do as much as possible as we can. It will take time, obviously, but having that contact with people, and listening to them and going with what works has really been a really eye-opening and positive experience.
Well, thank you, Eva. I could just see somebody's brought a question on about why is it mostly neurodivergent? Why is it for children, not just for adults? The truth is that if you listen, Rabbi Eisenberg is talking about adults. The Friendship Circle is not actually children at all. It's adults in supported living. We also have, I'm going to bring Adam on soon, who is somebody from Mill Hill East, which Chloe was going to talk about, but I don't know if she's managed to come in. But if she's not in, I'm going to bring in Adam, who is going to represent his lived experience from his perspective as an adult, as part of Mill Hill East Shul, and how he feels.
The camera. I think the point that I wanted to make also, I think, which is really, really important, is to teach your community to be flexible and not to be very rigid. I think there is this idea that we have communities need to look a certain way, services need to look a certain way, davening needs to look a certain way. And the truth is, within a general sense, yes, but there is plenty of space for that for divergence and making room for other people within your community. And I've heard people say, well, we don't want the community, we don't want to turn into a circus. It's not turning into a circus. People who've been to our shul will know that it's not a circus. The davening's a davening. We just are a little bit more flexible with somebody that cannot sit in his seat and allow him to walk around and to pace around. But that doesn't mean that your whole entire davening has fallen apart. And I think when people realize that you have to be flexible and allow people who have those divergencies to be able to do that within a safe space for us and for them, then you get a place automatically that becomes much more welcoming to them, because what you have created is a place that allows them, with that flexibility, to do whatever they need to do.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Adam, we're going to bring you in now. Oh, sorry, go on. Aaron?
Hello, are we in?
Yeah, Adam, yeah, you're on now. So Adam, you can introduce yourself and you can start from the beginning. So Chloe hasn't managed to come on yet, so you can start from the beginning.
Okay, Mill Hill East have been wonderful. I live in supported living, Madam, by the way. I lived in a supported living which is called JBD, and they work with Mill Hill East to bring anyone into their community. It's been amazing. I've had from the start, they brought me into the shul. They've been friendly. They have volunteers that phone me. I've had what else have I had? Oh, I've had people when I was ill. People brought me food for 2 weeks. They do everything. Even when I was reading when I had Kaddish, they got somebody to read with me. There's all sorts of things they do. They could do more, but they've been brilliant. And when it's I have to read from the Torah, they've put it all into phonetics and increased it. And they had so many people have been friendly. They come and chat to you. Oh, and as Rabbi Einstein said, it's all about being inclusive and welcoming. Our shul is definitely like that. And the more you do events and things and include people, your membership, as he said, the membership grows. Thanks.
Adam,
Yes.
what I wanted you to mention, what was your experience before you? I'm going to come back in, sorry, on my camera, so you can see me. What was your experience before you went into Mill Hill East, and how did it work out? How did you start joining them? What was your experience before? Remember, we discussed this. What happened before?
My experience before, it was on my own. Being in supported living's fine, but I went to a shul, but nobody really did anything. Nobody encouraged me. So when the Hill East came, they're very friendly. They came over and introduced themselves and said, "We're here. Can we help you? They said, "Can we help you? And can we include you?" When they asked questions of what my disabilities were, etc. And also, they don't talk down to you. They look up to you and treat you as you, not whatever. Like that, they treat you. They don't patronize. So they bring everybody in, because we have 3 children's services, and all sorts. They brought meals when I was sick, and when I was doing the Torah, they bought it on so I could read it, and everything that everybody said is true. They tailor it to the person's needs, pretty much.
And you mentioned to me, and I think people should need to hear this, Adam, is that before you went to Middle East, there was quite a long time before you hadn't been to a shul. How many years was that before you? How many years?
About 8 years or something, 9
So-
years.
So
Because I can't just walk into a shul. I've got to be introduced. I can't just walk into a shul again. And like the rabbi said, it's davening is just davening. It doesn't make the shul just because they davening, get it over quick. You've got to be part of a community. Shul is a community, not just for davening. If you want to daven, you can daven at home. So
again, you mentioned to me you were ill for quite a long period of time, weren't you?
About 6 weeks, I broke my hip, so they came in every day with meals and things, and people coming to visit, bringing in food, so all from the community. And people also visited me from the hospital as well. The rabbi came, and as well as at home, people also came to visit me in hospital from the community. Several members.
And I'm understanding, as a result of the fact that they stayed in touch with you, you basically quite happily moved back into shul. Is that right, Adam?
Right. That's right, yes. And I've become more observant, let's say, than I was while I was absent. I lost interest in everything. And then when the community came, got more involved in being Jewish.
It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. You're just illustrating what it is that we've been talking about, and something that Robert Eisenberg was saying. And it fosters a really great sense of community. That's fantastic. Thank you.
I'm going to read some of the comments because we've got Rabbi Mason, who was the rabbi at Muswell Hill Synagogue. He started a service for individuals who are neurodiverse, and also used a Makaton sign along with a siddur. The Makaton sign went down really well, and I think Rabbi Mason, following on from this, the Siddur, I think it's called the Siddur Lakol. There is a Siddur that the United Synagogue came out with, which has some of the Makaton signing in as well, which is really very helpful. And the other comment that I'm going to read out as well from Gabrielle is that I started a social enterprise for the autistic community. So I know about neurodiversity, mental health, and reasonable adjustments, but I wonder if this wonderful US project should start by spreading awareness in our shuls first. Once we think this has been achieved and it shouldn't be rushed, we can then perhaps explore best practice. At the moment, there's an overwhelming amount of information that needs to be rationalized to help clearer information for all. I'd agree on that. I think just even understanding what we're talking about, I think when, like Rivka, when we work in this field, we just assume that everyone understands what people's needs are, or understands what the terms that we're using as well, even a term like neurodiversity. And I'm assuming most of the people who are on this call have that real understanding, but I think that there is some really helpful education that we could do around our shuls, just understanding what people's lived experiences are, and then obviously what we're trying to work on, which is helping them feeling more included.
Yeah, and on that point, which is also addressing one of the questions which I'm conscious of, that had what I didn't say at the beginning, which I should have said because I was concerned about the technicalities of things, is that my role is actually a partnership with Gesher School, which is probably why a lot of what I'm saying is shaped by young people, because what Gesher School are involved in my role, because they're trying to bring the expertise into the US communities. And obviously, as part of that, what we're finding is that the word children and young people are coming up a lot. And I think the principle really is because what we're trying to do is get away from this keeping young children in a separate provision and get them more integrated as they develop and they grow older. But the principle, it remains the same. We are trying to encourage inclusion from children all the way through to adults. It's just that this project has actually been spearheaded with Gesher at the forefront. So we often talk about children, but as our awareness is growing and as the project kind of takes more momentum, we will try and focus more on adults. But again, it is a garnering momentum from communities. It is about growing that awareness as well. And it's about bringing in more volunteers who have that knowledge. And there are lots of people that do. It's like Jacqueline's got a background of being a Senko, and the person that leads the children's service is also a Senko. And if shuls can find those people in their communities, it will bring a much greater sense of expertise from children all the way through to adults. And that's and this project is going to take time. It's also a culture shift. It's a mind shift. We've never really had a focus on disability inclusion. We've had Dorot, we've had the environment, we've had women, but we've not actually had disability inclusion. So this is really very much as its very embryonic stages. So I can see the frustration of the fact that the word children keeps coming up, but we do have to start somewhere, and we also have to have that encouragement and that support from communities. And part of doing this panel is actually about raising awareness. And I know that from the attendees, we have a lot more schools that signed up for this, that I'm not engaged with you. So I really would encourage those schools who have signed up, who have more questions, who would like to know more. I'm really pleased to reach out to you individually and sort of really explain more about how we can support you. And some of it is about just supporting you on the practices that you already are engaged with, like in Bushy, that already were doing things before I came along. It's more about having now the support of US to create a greater impact. So I hope that addresses that question as well. Yeah, sorry.
Rivka, I've got a quick question for Robertson Film, and then Chloe's here, and there's another question which I think might be actually quite a good question for Chloe in her role. But Jacqueline, there's a question which is
I can see the question.
Yeah, how important do you feel that it was as a SENCO to lead the CALM service? And Rivka's already alluded to the fact that having that expertise.
Yeah,
but
so
would you need someone that well trained?
Someone's asked about being if it's necessary to have a SENCO to run the CALM service. It obviously is a massive bonus when you have someone who's fully trained and confident in it, but I don't believe so. I think that Beverly, who ran it for us, who is really very talented, would happily help to explain to anyone who wanted to run a CALM service. I think it needs someone who understands the people who are taking part and understands the children, and who has a sense of how to manage the room. But I don't think that it needs to be someone who's specifically trained in this. I think that it's something that as I said, that Beverly, who ran it, would be happy to help explain to others how to do it. And I think that just finding the right volunteer, and I think every community probably does have that.
Thank you. Rabbi Mason also kindly said that it might be important to use the expertise of parents of people with special needs. They have a lot to offer potentially. So thank you for that. I'm going to bring Chloe now, if that's all right, Rivka.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
I know Chloe. Go on. And just to say that the question that I thought might be relevant, but you might be able to answer it within your what you're talking about, is there any training given to board members? I know you're a chair of a community. Families often struggle with other people's reactions to their neurodiverse children. And I guess also I've seen working with neurodiverse adults that the reactions can be difficult. And how do SHUL members deal with that to support the families to be able to feel welcome in their community?
I'm Chloe Praga. I am one of the chairs of Mill Hill East Jewish community. Sorry for my late arrival. In terms of formal training, we don't have any formal training as such. We do actually have a member that works at Gesher, and she has advised us on a number of things. But we take the way we approach it is that we take everyone as an individual, neurodiverse or with no neurodiverse traits or diagnosis, and our beginnings are within easy memory. So we did that from the outset, found out about all our members, and then provided what we could to each of their individual needs. And I think everyone coming in as a newbie, as a new person to the community, it really brought an understanding and a tolerance for everyone as an individual, and whatever they can contribute. We are located close to Jewish Blind and Disabled, where Adam lives, and that relationship started very early on in the community. So we've kind of grown alongside, and they've got a new building that's being built very close to us as well. We hope that the relationship between the two organizations continued. So because they've always been the tenants that live at JBD have always been such a crucial part of our community. Anyone that walks in there just like sees it as a normal part of our communal life, that we integrate these people with different needs into our spaces.
If we were to summarize what you were saying, and it touches on the points that everyone has made as well, is you embed inclusive practice in what you do from the outset. And because you're a new shul, it's been a particular pertinent thing, and you started, like you say, aligning yourself with a JBD. So it's been from the outset, literally from the embryonic stages of the building of your shul, and it continues to be that way, that you've partnered with an organization with that understanding. And you mentioned to me also when we engage, is that it's something you were determined to do, because a lot of the members that have come to your shul have come into your shul for that reason. They're coming because it's a more customized approach, it's a more flexible approach, it's a more open approach, and it's a very dynamic approach. So in some respects, I guess, because you started with that concept, I mean, that's really central to how you're building your shul, and you're really in those early stages. But again, it's about being intuitive and thinking about people's needs and about customizing it according to individuals.
So Chloe, there was a question about how people respond to, if people who are neurodiverse, particularly the question was about children, but it might equally apply to adults, that if people are neurodiverse and members respond to their behaviours perhaps in a not very helpful or welcoming way, how do board members and other leaders in the community respond to that to ensure that they're able to be there and feel comfortable?
I think someone else may be better placed to answer this, just because luckily we've not had that experience. I think the point I was trying to make before is that we've built that tolerance in, therefore people hopefully won't respond inappropriately.
Okay. Someone else has already written in the chat, that relaxing the formality and rules of shul services will make them more accessible for everyone, not just those who are neurodivergent. The US needs to think wider than just one group. And I think that's really important as a concept, that everyone benefits, I think, when there's inclusion. I think the example that Eva gave at the beginning about the vibes groups, I think they've been very accessible and successful because lots of people have joined them regardless of whether they're neurodiverse or not. It's been like a good opportunity for people to just engage with the community in a different way, who maybe don't feel comfortable walking into a packed shul but feel comfortable joining a small group and connecting with a small number of people through an interest that they have.
I'm just going to add to that, but thank you for bringing that up. Definitely, that's one of the benefits of the small groups. Again, off shul site, not on a Shabbat. But I also wanted to add something that does happen on Shabbat, similar to what Jacqueline said, is there's been these family-friendly services. Sorry, that's based around children again. And the kids are all wandering around, and there's less rules. Let's say there's less rules and regulations, and it's a really fun service that happens every now and then. So there are things being implemented. It does matter. Again, it makes a difference. We have capacity. We have different halls. We have different spaces. We have people who are willing to come up, step up, volunteer, and organise these things, and we're very grateful.